podcast, joined as always by Clinton Boring. My name is Ryan Satkoviak. We are back on our Monday night midweek nonsense. Today we are talking Heisman stuff, coaching stuff, AP poll stuff. Clinton has his role in player of the week. He's excited for that. It's his favorite moment of the week. Don't tell his wife and kids that. Sir, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. It was a rush. You guys don't know this, but Ryan and I talked pre-show, and I wasn't sure I was going to make the show by 9 p.m. tonight because my wonderful nephew's birthday is today, and his last fall baseball game of the year was today. So I blitzed over there, got our butts home, got my little man to bed, and I was able to make it by 9 o'clock. We started late because we chose to start late. We would have been on time. But overall, it's been a good day. Pretty quick day for a Monday. Back to beautiful weather here in Ohio, not this cold, dreary rain. But it has brought the fall weather. It is here to stay now, I think. I don't think there's any more 80-degree days on the horizon, which I'm excited about because it feels like true football weather every day of the week now. Mr. Satkoviak, how are you?
I'm great, man. If you want an idea of how decrepit that I was yesterday, I got a perfect sleep score last night. I've literally never gotten a perfect sleep score in the 6 months or whatever I've had this Garmin watch.
What
So
constitutes a perfect sleep score?
they just gave me a 100 out of 100.
Nice.
Here, do you want, I can read it to you. And I don't understand how, like, what goes into calculating this, but I didn't wake. I think I rolled over at one point, and I'm like, why is my eye mask coming off of my head? Yes, I wear an eye mask.
Hold
It's
up,
life
hold up.
changing.
Oh my
What?
God.
It's
You
life
sleep with an
changing.
eye mask?
It's life changing. It blacks everything out. It's nice and cozy on your face. I can't sleep without it now. I can't sleep without my retainer. Can't sleep without my eye mask. Uh, you had extremely restorative sleep. You effectively balanced your stress yesterday by getting rest after periods of stress. I don't think I
Wait a
balanced
second.
my stress well yesterday at all. I was stressed for 3 hours driving home in a rainstorm.
When did you get the eye mask? Because you didn't wear an eye mask in Purdue last year.
Um, I don't know when I started wearing one. It was probably sometime in the winter.
Are you bringing the eye mask to Oregon with you?
Fuck yeah.
I'm gonna make so much. I'm gonna take
Mm.
pictures of you while you sleep.
Well, that's a little creepy. Isn't this a multi-bedroom Airbnb?
A moldy?
Multi.
Multi. What?
Is it one bedroom? Do I gotta share a fucking bed with you?
No. I'm gonna sleep in the bed the first night, and then I can sleep on the couch the second night. That's fine.
What did whatever, we'll talk
It's a
about it later.
studio.
Oh, okay. That makes
Studio.
sense. Okay.
Yes. So there is a bed, and then there's a pull-out bed on the couch.
Oh, pull
So
up
you can
bed is fine.
just sleep on the pull-out bed, and I'll stay in the on the regular bed then.
Yeah, you just stay on the regular bed because I
I
gotta
don't
wake
want to
up
be
at like
bumping uglies. All right.
I gotta wake up at like 2:30 in the morning, so
Holy shit!
I
I
might as
don't
well
need to
not
be up
even
that early.
I might not even go to bed. I might just drive to the airport.
That could be possible.
Well, probably, yeah. Well,
You
maybe.
sleep
I
in
don't
your
know.
car. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Why we've got
to
to
the
figure that
task
out.
at hand.
Yes. Let's start how we always start these Monday midweek shows. Well, I guess last week was Tuesday, but what you know what I mean.
The Roland Player of the Week is back for Monday of technically it's week 9, but we're calling it week 8. ITP Roland Player of the Week, week 8 goes none other to the stud running back out of South Bend. Hold up, they have two of them. The main stud running back, the one that's all about love. Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, 24 carries, 228 yards, one touchdown, averaging 9.5 yards per carry. As the Irish brought the smoke to the Trojans in the rain and bullied them up and down the field for over 300 yards on the ground.
That is correct.
Impressive day overall by the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Congrats, Jeremiah Love. You are our first repeat customer in the Roland ITP Player of the Week. He was our week 4 winner when he had against Purdue his previous career high of 19 carries, 157 yards, 2 TDs with an 8.3 average, and now his new career high is 228 yards. Congratulations, Jeremiah. If you retweet what I send out, we can send you a sticker.
It's only fitting that the best running back in college football is our first repeat winner of the Roland Player of the Week. That's all.
I think it's fair. Yeah, I agree. Ryan, do
Um,
you?
you go ahead. I don't know what
I
I
don't
was
know what I
gonna
was going
say.
to say. I was going to try to bring up more about the USC game and Notre Dame game, just because it was very interesting to listen to Ty Hildenbrandt today, who had a very different opinion than you on this game. He wasn't overly excited about CJ Carr's performance, which I don't think you were either.
Well, I know it was
Um,
not very good.
but he was more complimentary to USC from the standpoint of the injuries at running back they had and the fight that they still showed within the game. And it wasn't necessarily a disappointment of the USC team, but it sounded more like in Lincoln Riley, for both him and Dan, in the play calling that Lincoln Riley ushered out onto the field.
No, I mean it wasn't good play calling, but also you gave up 300 rushing yards. You got your ass kicked on the line of scrimmage. You know the I don't. You're not an advanced stats guy, but the deserve to win meter. I tweeted this out today. It's basically net success rate. I need to pull up the tweet that explains it, but basically it talks about did we really get beat that badly? And this was the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth most sound beating of the weekend in terms of net success rate comparing the two teams. It was behind only Ohio State beating the piss out of Wisconsin, Ohio beating Northern Illinois, Oregon
Go
beating the
Bobcats.
shit out of Rutgers, Indiana beating Michigan State, and Temple beating Charlotte. This was the sixth most lopsided net success rate game of the weekend. It was a thorough sound beating, and the only reason it was close is because Notre Dame could not stop shooting itself in the foot. And that's the thing, too, is like, you can sit there and talk about Lincoln Riley called a poor game, and I don't think that's wrong at all. That's a coaching issue. That's not a
Mm-hmm.
gameplay issue. Notre Dame played a poor game out there. They coached a really good game. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say USC played a great game. They got blown off the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, but the coaching thing, that just doesn't really concern me as much,
Do
if
you
that
think
makes
this
sense.
game is any different if USC's top two running backs are in and this game is not played in the rain?
Maybe.
I'm not saying necessarily that USC wins, but that
It's hard to.
obviously was more of a hindrance, I would
I
say, to
mean,
USC's offense
you
than
could
Notre Dame's.
also you could also say that CJ Carr doesn't play like dog ass if they're not playing in the rain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Who knows?
Go Larry.
Maybe we'll get another rematch
Bro,
in
I
the
saw
playoff.
a USC fan quote tweeted it was like, "Oh, keep that hunger and we'll get that rematch in the playoffs." I'm like, "You motherfuckers can't even handle South Bend in October. What the fuck do you think they're going to do in South Bend in December? They're not even going to show up. They're going
Well,
to get off the plane and turn around and get back on the plane."
their hope is probably that they somehow don't draw you in South Bend and then they get a neutral site game.
Yeah, there you go. I just love all the the SoCal tweets too. That like when they were talking about the weather maybe getting delayed, it's like, oh, perfect day in Southern California. You don't have to deal with this in South Bend. It's like, yes, go play in Southern California, and then when you get drafted by the Buffalo Bills and you've never played a cold weather game in your life, and you wash out after 2 years because you can't handle it, I'm sure you'll thank your USC toughness at that point in time. God damn, grow a fucking spine, man. It's weather. It's not that serious. If you can't
No.
handle it, don't play football.
That's what makes football fun. Is
Yeah,
the
go play
outdoor
basketball.
elements.
Go play basketball. You don't have elements playing basketball
Yeah.
or tennis or something. I guess you have elements with tennis. I don't know. I don't think I've ever watched a tennis match in my
You
life.
can't
What else is
play
an
in the
indoor
rain.
sport?
You just have to, it can't be heavy rain. And then if you're playing on grass and the grass gets wet,
Yeah, it's
tennis is
not even. It's not even.
probably
It
a
was turf.
nightmare.
It was turf. It
Yeah.
wasn't even a muddy game. If this was South Bend 2005, the bush push conditions when they had 8 feet tall grass out there, ugh,
That would have been gnarly. Would have been gnarly.
It. I mean, Jaden Maeva still threw for 330 yards. It really couldn't have affected him that much.
All right. Where are we heading first, Ryan?
Let's start with some hot seat talk. You kind of proposed this idea, and I think this was kind of stemming off of the Luke Fickell discussion we wanted to have. And I don't remember, where did I send this to you? Did I text it to you?
The what?
I think it was like a NACOS thing about Luke Fickell.
That they're committing to him?
Okay, here we go. Yeah, so the kind of the impetus for this was, before I kind of jump the gun with this here, is I think we wanted to kind of talk about, there is a lot of coaching turnover that has already happened in the sport, and halfway through the season that's notable, right? Because last year the coaching carousel was small by comparison's sake, and I think there was some discussion that the apprehension to get rid of your coaching staff paying big buyouts was because people weren't sure what the rev sharing distribution was going to look like, and Schools were reticent to spend big buyout sums when they weren't sure how much they were going to have to pay for their rosters, but there's some clarity with that now. And a lot of coaches who probably would have gotten fired last year didn't. And now we're kind of seeing that play itself out early in the season. Billy Napier being kind of the big one with that, as a guy who probably should have gotten fired last year but didn't. And we were kind of talking over the weekend, what does Wisconsin do given, I mean, I don't know that the Luke Fickell thing's going to turn itself around at this point in time, but do you really want to insert yourself into this coaching carousel if you're Wisconsin, knowing that you are going to be competing with a high number of other good P4 jobs for candidates? And right when we were talking about that, I saw an update. I think it was from On3. I think it was Pete Nakos. In the Wisconsin piece was the Badgers have now been shut out in back-to-back games for the first time since 1977. Yikes.
Good Lord.
Serious
About to be 3
conversation.
straight.
Yeah, could be 3 straight this weekend. Serious conversations are being had about Luke Fickell's future, but Wisconsin does visit Oregon in 6 days. One idea that is being floated, sources have told On3, is the possibility of bringing back Fickell and investing heavily in the transfer portal. That would mean athletic director Chris McIntosh would be back for another season. At this point, the situation remains fluid. Fickell's buyout is north of $25 million. A team meeting was held this past week with McIntosh addressing Fickell's future, and I think it was actually announced today. He got the dreaded vote of confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we've kind of talked about it. We talked about it with our Wisconsin preview as well. The schedule eases up a little bit next year. Do you give Luke Fickell another kind of a pass for this year, again, given the injuries at the quarterback position? I'd argue that the fact that he hasn't developed a homegrown guy by this point is concerning in its own right, but that's neither here nor there. But you give him a pass on this year, given the schedule, and then, again, redouble your efforts in the portal, try to bring in some reinforcements in the offseason, and take a stab at it next year when the schedule is more favorable. And if it doesn't happen then you pull the plug, and, we just had Penn State, Florida, potentially Florida State, and maybe some other programs go through the cycle. Maybe it's a less competitive cycle next year, and you can be one of the top jobs instead of getting lost in the shuffle. So I don't know if you wanted to just kind of start there and discuss your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think we're looking at next year's schedule. You open with Notre Dame and Lambeau, but then you're getting the Leathernecks, Pitt's feasible, at Iowa, at Maryland, at Penn State, at Purdue, at UCLA. Home games are Michigan State, Minnesota, Rutgers, and USC. What teams do I not name on there, Ryan?
You don't see an Ohio State.
Are you there? There you are.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Sorry. For some reason, the thing just disappeared on me, so I thought I lost you.
Oh, no. Something was getting a little
So we don't see Ohio State, and we don't see...
Yeah, no Ohio
Am I
State.
there now?
Yeah, you're here. You were just, echoey a little bit.
Yeah, no Ohio State, no Oregon.
Yep.
Here.
And you get USC at home.
I think what happened is I had the same thing. Yeah. At Iowa could be a toss-up. Mm-hmm. You're most likely losing the Notre Dame game. Again, if you hit the portal in the way that you want to, then maybe it happens. I don't know. But you get Purdue, you get UCLA. You're getting some of the bottom of the Big Ten that's current this year and some mid-tier, so it's feasible. And if your only big loss, if you can be competitive against Notre Dame, I certainly think he hangs around. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It's really hard for Wisconsin when you're not in the Big Ten and king of the Big Ten West anymore to see yourself plucking one of these higher coaches when you're going against Florida, Penn State, probably against Florida State if Mike Norvell ends up getting canned. Even though I believe he just got the vote of confidence through the end of the season today from what I read.
Yeah, that wasn't even a vote of confidence. That was basically we're not firing you now and we'll reassess at the end of the year.
Yes.
How can we find $100 million?
Yes, to be able to get rid of you. So, I still think Fickell's a good coach. I think you and I have talked about this. Yes, it's a very tough ask when you continue to bring in a portal quarterback that affects your season every single year and you can't seem to get it right. But guess what's also not working? Offensive line, their run game. And I get you changed your offensive scheme again this year, which isn't a great reset. And maybe that's what's also buying him time as you get that brief break there.
Yep.
But at some point it's now or never, and I think that's 2026 for Wisconsin.
I
You've
agree.
got to figure it out. And I don't know if, Billy Edwards, I don't think he's played in 4 games this year, so I don't know if they could technically redshirt him and bring him back another year for an injury waiver.
Could. You
If
could.
you want to go that route, if you're fine with Danny O'Neil, and then you just run everybody else out as much as you can with the portal, bringing them in to see if you can help out. Defense necessarily isn't their problem to a huge extent. It's the fact that they can't stay on the field and move the ball on offense, and then their defense just gets tired. There's only so much you can do. And the Wisconsin of old, man, was very how we talked about Michigan-esque with Harbaugh. Was they're just a python, and they're just going to choke you out because they're going to control the ground game, and they're going to beat you up physically at the line of scrimmage, and they're going to win. And that's kind of what I feel like they need to get back to. So my guess would be, if for some reason things continue to turn south and get ugly, that Wisconsin this season and maybe next gives Jim Leonard a call, gives potentially Pat Fitzgerald a call since he's been exonerated of all the stuff from Northwestern. Does he get another look in college football? Someone who kind of fits that bill that's more Wisconsin-esque, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't get fired after Oregon, I don't think it's going to happen in season. I mean, it's still not a great last 4 games to your schedule, and I mean, I think it's more likely than not that they finish 2-10 right now. And I don't know, maybe you get your ass kicked by Washington and Indiana and Illinois and Minnesota, and people are looking at it and they're saying, look, we can't run this back again. There's just nothing there for us to build off of. And maybe it changes then, but I don't know, man. That's a weird situation. It's a program that, I mean, they got, I don't know if flack is the right word, but I think it caught a lot of people by surprise when they fired Paul Chryst before it really went bad there. It felt like kind of one of those, hey, this is starting to turn. We're just going to pull the plug now. And that feels like if they held on to Fickle for another year, that unless they really, really, really change something up in the offseason, that they would feel almost like they're holding on a little bit too long here. I see you responding to Jacob's comment. So let's
Wait, is this our Jacob?
I think it might be. Yeah. Hi, Jacob.
Okay. Hey, Jacob, what's up? It didn't say Nagolian on the thing, but I was responding to it.
And I think so before we kind of get into, there's a couple other like hot seat things I want to discuss. Guys who are working their way on it, guys who are working their way off of it. But this is something I wanted to touch on too, is just job openings that are concerning either current sitting Big Ten head coaches or just the Penn State job in general. Because we did, like you said here in the comment section, we did talk a little bit last night about Lane Kiffin going to Florida, with my comment that it seems like Florida's targeting him, and your comment saying, well, why would he want to do that? He already has a pretty good situation at Ole Miss, and you've shown that you can win there. And if you missed it on the screen, or if you're listening in podcast form and can't see it on the screen, Jacob's question was, what's up with across college football people assuming coaches will just jump ship from improving programs to sinking ships within the same conference? And the examples he uses is Matt Rule to Penn State and Lane Kiffin to Florida. And that's something, too, that we discussed a little bit last night, and I don't really understand. I get like the hot board articles, right? Like, oh, well, they're going to reach for the stars with so and so, or they'll reach for so and so. And I mean, more often than not, it doesn't end up playing out that way. And I get that, you're writing an article because you need clicks or whatever, but it just, I don't know that we see it all that often where guys go from like high end, mid whatever P4 teams to something that's in a similar tier. I mean, the two that come to mind, and I mean, this is maybe why we don't see it a lot, is Brian Kelly going from Notre Dame to LSU and Lincoln Riley going from Oklahoma to USC. And neither of those have worked out all that well. Like, we're sitting here talking about Brian Kelly maybe getting fired this year.
I wouldn't put it past Lincoln Riley getting canned, Ryan,
And
if they don't somehow figure out the rest of this season.
And that's, yeah, we're also talking about if USC falls apart here, is Lincoln Riley on the hot seat. But from like a coaching standpoint, and this was the point, I don't remember if I made it midweek last week or yesterday, but like this is the same thing with like anytime, like it feels like both of these, Penn State and Florida, the Marcus Freeman's name comes up, and it's like, why would you leave Notre Dame where you've established yourself? You've put in 4 years of work to finally get everything that you wanted. You have the program shaped how you want it, and you're now just going to leave it before you can reap what you've been sowing for the last 4 years? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with like Matt Rule at Nebraska. Like aside, like the Matt Rule one, I get a little bit because of his ties to State College and Penn State, but you've been laying the groundwork at a place for 4 years. It's a place with resources where you can win. Why are you just going
Mhm.
to set the reset button to go to a place where you're going to have to rebuild a ton? Going to lose a ton of good players to the NFL after this year. They're already not, I mean, they're not doing great. It's not like
Mhm.
you're inheriting a fantastic situation. I mean, you can rebuild it quickly at a place like Penn State, but it's not like, when Brian Kelly left Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman inherited a shitty quarterback situation and a wide receiver room that had three bodies, but otherwise had a really good running back room and a great defense. So you have something to build off of there. You got to rebuild these situations. And it just doesn't make a ton of sense to me when you get these boards where it's like, and I guess even like the Jeff Brom discussion a little bit too.
Mhm.
And maybe that's a discussion we can have too. Like, I get that it's a little bit of a jump in prestige going from the ACC to the Big Ten or the SEC, but he's a Louisville guy. He left Purdue to go back to Louisville. I don't know that he necessarily got a pay raise to do that, but you can be top dog in the ACC. You have family ties there. I think his brother is his offensive coordinator there.
Mhm.
It's just everyone's
He's an alum.
situations. He's an alum. Yep.
I wonder if it's somebody made the comment to me when I made that post, like Brom won't leave until he wins an ACC title there. Well, that's very possible he does that this year.
Could be.
They just knocked out Miami. They have the advantage over Miami. They've got what? Georgia Tech staring them in the face if they run the table at the end of the year. As far as like ACC title, I don't know if they cross paths with Georgia Tech
I
during
don't
the
think
season.
they do.
Clemson sure as hell out of the way. SMU is still there. SMU is alive
SMU's
and well
undefeated.
in
They
the
have
ACC.
so they still have Boston College, Virginia, Cal, Clemson, SMU, and Kentucky on their schedule.
I think that's very feasible they win the rest of their games. Virginia's right in there at the top of the ACC as well. But
Mhm.
the reason I brought up his name is he's a former Big Ten brethren. He did pretty damn well at Purdue, pulled multiple upsets at Purdue. You get your spot at your alma mater, maybe you're comfortable and maybe you're happy. Are you ever going to win a national title at Louisville if that's your ultimate goal? Or are you happy competing in the ACC, winning the ACC in some years, getting your lock into the 12 playoff and see what happens? But Penn State gives you the ability to get yourself into the national title conversation and potentially win it. So maybe that's the allure that pulls him. The spot with Rule again with Penn State is the alumni ties, but Nebraska, you just got to go back a little further in the 90s, man. They were a football juggernaut. It's not like this team has never done anything in football. I think Matt Rule's push here is to try to get them to invest more money
Oh,
into
for
the
sure.
football program
Yeah.
on his comments versus him actually leaving.
Yeah.
We truly never know. These guys could stand right here and tell you that they're as happy as a clam, and then when the season's done,
Well,
they're gone.
did you see the Mike Elko quote today?
Yes.
He's like, I don't know why you're asking me about this. I don't talk to my players about this. I'm like, well, you didn't say no. Because they're not going to
Everybody
say
just
no
speculate.
because
Yep.
it's leverage. It's all leverage. It's a play for
Absolutely.
something, whether it's
Yep.
money for yourself, money for your assistants, resource updates. And that's
Yep.
ultimately why these names come out because it's agents feeding them to reporters
Hmm.
because the agents are trying to get something for their client.
Yep. Ryan Day doesn't need that because Ryan Day knows he's about to get another payday probably after this year if somehow
Well,
this team runs the table again. He's going to
well,
go be the highest paid coach in
well,
football.
yeah. Well, it's like Ryan Day is going to either the NFL or he's gonna retire to a beach with a Mai Tai somewhere. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, maybe Penn State should call Nick Saban or Urban Meyer. You never know. You never know who
Maybe
you could pull in there.
maybe they've called both. Who
Yeah.
knows?
I
No, go ahead.
I mean, I the other interesting we talked about maybe the one who's kind of backed off the hot seat was Braun with
Got David.
Northwestern.
Yep, I have that. The guys working their way off of it. I have David Braun on here. He is 5-2. Northwestern is
Third in the
technically
Big Ten.
tied for third in the Big Ten right now. It is going to be a bit, Clinton, of a struggle for them to get that last win to get bowl eligibility. Still, you got to go to Nebraska, got to go to USC. You're hosting Michigan at Wrigley Field, hosting Minnesota at Wrigley Field, and you are at Illinois. Those are 5 difficult games
Legit,
to
yeah.
end the season.
I think they clipped somebody at Wrigley. It just feels
I
like it's going to
yeah,
be a wet, sloppy, messy game. Northwestern does an elite job at running the ball, which matches up perfectly with Michigan.
Hmm.
The problem is Preston Stone, and when does he turn back into a pumpkin, if at
Well,
all?
he's
And if he
kind of
does,
always been a pumpkin, but
well, he's been an uglier pumpkin in this
when
season,
does
and
he
now he's
become the
now he's a
ward?
prettier pumpkin.
Yeah, when does he become the warty pumpkin versus
Yeah,
just the regular
the
pumpkin?
nice, smooth, outside, cleaned up pumpkin that you're
Yeah.
gonna put out on your front porch versus the ugly one you're just gonna throw out the pasture.
Listen,
Um,
Clinton, they play good defense too, man. They gave up
Absolutely,
34 to Oregon. Other than that, they have not given up more than 23 points in a game this season.
yeah. So he has clearly backed himself off that. That was something we talked about beginning of the season. Great job for him.
Hmm.
The
The
other one that
other,
I brought up was Mike Loxley.
I have him on here too.
Where do you have him though? Working himself off, or
Yep, I have him working his way off. He
now?
was a
Why do you
guy
think
that,
that?
well, so he was a guy preseason that we talked was going to potentially be in the running for first Big Ten coach fired this year because they just were dreadful last year, and it felt like a sharp step in the wrong direction. And I don't know, man. We were kind of looking at their preseason schedule and saying FAU could be tough, NIU could be tough, and if you drop two of your three non-conference games, it's going to get ugly.
Yeah,
But they played well in that portion of their schedule. They got their Big Ten win against Wisconsin. Even though they've lost three consecutive games, it's not like they've been getting browbeaten into
hmm
oblivion. They're playing well. When we talked, I guess it was just me talking to Jeff Erman preseason because you have never done a Maryland season preview on this podcast in 2 years.
Hey, I was alive for the first one. I had no internet.
Um,
I was just
but
on my phone as a stationary listener.
we kind of talked about like what does expectations need to be for Maryland this year, and he said it's not really a win thing. If you get to a bowl game, that's fantastic, but you just need to show progress. You need to show like something to be excited about for the future. And I think that's Malik Washington. He's
Absolutely.
been a revelation this year. If that's kind of what you get from 2025 out of Maryland, if you're a Maryland fan moving forward, like, hey, we've got a quarterback that the next 2 years here, he's going to be a three and out guy, and he's a guy that can maybe make some noise for us the next 2 years. We just got to support him a little bit better in the run game with some better offensive linemen. He's already got some pretty good receivers out wide, but maybe get a true number one, no doubt about a guy out wide as well. They're playing okay defense. They're not so great against Nebraska a couple weeks ago, but you got a bye week this week, your last 5 games of the season. I think, Clinton, this is not as daunting to get to bowl eligibility as it is for, I almost said Rutgers, for Northwestern. You have Indiana, that's going to be a game you're probably not going to win. But at Rutgers, I certainly think that's a winnable game. Illinois is going to be tough. You got Michigan coming to you. I think that's also going to be tough. And then you're playing Michigan State at Ford Field, and Michigan State, we'll talk about them here in a second, but I think that's certainly a winnable game. And if you can get Rutgers and Michigan State and get to 6-6 in the regular season, by golly, that's a great season for Maryland this year.
Yeah, and even if you finish just with the 5, that is a long way to end the season, starting 4-0 and only getting one more game. But it's a
Hmm.
step up from last year.
For sure.
You have Malik Washington, who is an absolute promising talent for you, and then you have Under Armour backing you.
For sure.
So it's not Nike and it's not Adidas, but Under Armour has money. You have the ability, work the East Coast, pull guys in who aren't playing. I bet guys are going to leave Virginia Tech. I bet there's some talent there unless they pull someone in. Find ways to bring those guys in to fill around Malik Washington, get you an offensive line upgrade so that you're able to run the ball. There's a reason Roman Himby left you,
Hmm.
okay? Because he's a good back and he had nowhere to go.
Yep.
But we watch what Mike Loxley, different OC, but what a Mike Loxley coached Maryland team can do when you had someone like Taliatunga Vailoa
Hmm.
be able to grip it and rip it in his offense. And that's something that Malik Washington offers this team. You just got to put the cast around him. We've seen Maryland defenses send, I'm blanking on their names around, the defensive backs to the NFL.
Hmm.
You have Ty Felton, who was such an elite wide receiver last year. Even Billy Edwards put up some really nice stats. So get the pieces around him. I think I agree with you at this point. I think Loxley has backed himself off. Although if you give us another, well, first of all, you don't win a game the rest of the year. That might heat you up just a little bit. But the problem would be if Malik Washington is really tied to Mike Loxley.
Yeah,
If
you
he's
don't.
gone, you're
Hmm.
losing him.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
And that is one of the best talents you've had walk through Maryland in quite some time from a freshman standpoint. So I think I agree with you. Mike Loxley has kind of cooled his ass just a little bit. But a guy whose ass continues to heat up week after week, and unless he clips his rival this weekend, it's going to get hotter, is Jonathan Smith.
Yep.
And this experiment at Michigan State is not going well at this time.
No.
There's been speculation early when the UCLA job opened to be like, well, Jonathan Smith, the UCLA. I don't know if UCLA wants to hire Jonathan Smith right now.
No.
He's not exactly doing too hot in the Big Ten team that he's at. And there's a lot of work to do at UCLA. There's a lot of work to do there. I know they're playing inspired football right now. That's going to probably come to a screeching halt this weekend when Indiana boat races them in Bloomington.
Yep.
But Jonathan Smith has to be feeling the heat. Yes, Aiden Childs played better last week, but it's just not been a good product since he's been there. There's been some highs, but there's been way too many lows. Michigan's gettable.
For sure.
They are gettable.
I don't know if they're gettable by Michigan State, but they are gettable.
Well, you had them last year. You should have beaten them last year. Again, they didn't have a quarterback last year. Who knows if Haynes is out, but Marshall proved himself plenty capable this past week. Michigan's gettable, and you get them at home. If Jonathan Smith can pull off this upset, then I think he cools his seat in a way that maybe Mike Loxley has, and people can live with the fact of we don't have Ohio State. We're not going to get killed. We do get a lackluster Penn State that we might be able to clip, and we beat our rival. And then they can just be happy with that.
Yeah, I think, like, if you beat Michigan and then you lose the rest of your games and you go 4-8 and you take a backslide, I don't think they're going to be super thrilled about that. But I think if you beat Michigan, that buys you another year.
Yeah, survive the rival and get a piece of it.
And I don't want to call your last 4 games after that winnable because I don't think Michigan State has earned that benefit of the doubt, but they're certainly not insurmountable challenges either. But I'm concerned about the defense that has not really gotten better. They've given up 38 points on the dot 3 consecutive games, 45 the week before that, 24 to an FCS team the week before that, 40 to Boston College the week before that. They're just not playing good defense this year. It's not getting better. And I'm not really sure what you're hanging your hat on here. Like, where's the improve? Like, what is getting better that you can point to if you're the Michigan State coaching staff and say, this is our light at the end of the tunnel. This is our silver lining. This is what we can build off of for next year.
I think they're going to keep arguing Aiden Childs, but the problem is you have to have something
It's just up and
other
down.
than that.
It's just too up and down with him. There's no, like, I get
it
that
could be
progress
better if
isn't
you
linear,
put a
but
damn offensive line in front of him. That
Yeah.
should be where you're going. I mean, hey, we talked about this last week. It didn't matter which quarterback they were going to start last week if you couldn't protect them against Indiana's pass rush, which is a tall task. He had no shot, and he performed admirably, I feel like, given the pressure he was under. But it's the trenches. How many times do we say this? If you can't control the line of scrimmage, you're not going to win a game, or it's going to be really hard to pull upsets and hang in a conference when you have Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and all these teams you want to bludgeon your face in. These mid-bottom tier teams just aren't going to have a shot until you can figure that out. Maybe off one year that you pull a miracle a la Mel Tucker, but that was the perfect transfer portal, right? Kenneth Walker.
Yep.
Took the college football universe by storm. And that, at this point, feels like what Michigan State's going to have to pop. Now, on the other side of that rivalry game, Ryan, there was some stuff I was reading heading into Washington's game last week that Sharon Moore could potentially be on the chopping block if this season, more specifically, they were talking the Washington game last week, didn't go as planned. There was apparently a lot of tension in the locker rooms, players yelling at each other. It's not getting along, and just can Sharon Moore actually handle this locker room? And I think those questions are there. We've kind of resorted to the corny stuff again, where he's bringing his mechanics jacket in, and we got to put in the work and we got to put in the effort. I'm here to work hard, and like if we got to pull that shit out already, then I'm not quite sure, man. But I don't think Sharon is 100% safe. Obviously, if he beats Ohio State again, I think that probably buys him, again, time. I would assume if you're winning through the rest of these, you're beating Ohio State, you only have 2 losses, you're making the playoff, most likely. I don't think it's the same scenario, though, that Bryce Underwood with Sharon Moore that Malik Washington is to Mike Loxley.
No, I agree. I'm with
Because
you.
I think you could fire Sharon Moore or keep Sharon Moore, and Bryce Underwood, if made a hell of an offer by a new LSU coach next year, could walk right out that door if he's not happy with what's going on at Michigan.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's a. I don't know what his NIL deal entails, and
Mhm.
because there's some weird ones out there where it's like, well, we own your rights even if you go to a different school or whatever. But I think the saving grace for Sharon Moore and maybe not so much for Michigan fans is they really should not lose a game before they play Ohio State.
Mhm.
I think if you lose a
I
game before you play Ohio State and then you get smacked by Ohio State, I don't think that they would fire him at 8-4.
mhm.
But I don't think it would be a particularly comfortable offseason in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, I think it would be certainly hot. And again, you continue to hear the rumors in the background of like, well, who's the next guy? Who can replace this? Who can do that? Well, Sharon never had a chance. He was the fall guy. Yada yada yada. Some guys just don't have it. I think Sharon Moore has
Mhm.
proven to be a fantastic O line coach. He had those Harbaugh offensive lines humming and cooking, and it's a lot harder to do that when you're the head coach. This is why guys have to give up position jobs or play calling duties when they become a head coach because you need to be a CEO,
Mhm.
and it's a hard thing to learn to do. You
Mhm.
see that right now with Steve Sarkisian.
For
There's
sure.
an interview with him today. He doesn't want to give up play calling because he said that's what's got him to this point. Well, buddy, that's what got Ryan Day to this point. That's what got Urban Meyer to that point. That's what got Nick Saban to that point. They all had to let it go.
Mhm.
They all had to let it go at some point. And it's hard because it's your baby and you want to be in control, but sometimes you have to give it up to be able to get what you want.
Just let it go. One other name I have on here. I mean, we kind of talked about Lincoln Riley already. I don't think we really need to rehash that one. What about Greg Schiano?
I was getting ready to bring him up. He feels like he just gets the Rutgers pass until he decides to hang it up, Ryan. I but the product that they're putting on defense the past 2 years is
It's
inexcusable.
it's
It's
bad.
pathetic.
It's
It's
so
so
bad.
bad. And he stood at the podium though a few weeks ago and commented though about how essentially when he got there didn't really feel like they had the NIL funds and chest to battle with people, and now they're working on it. So again, I don't know if that's something that buys him time. New Jersey is ripe with college football talent. You may not pull a ton of 5 stars, but if you can get some 4 stars to stay home, and if you've got something in the wings behind Ethan Kaliakmanis, then sure. But I 100% agree with you. I think, can we be a fence sitter on that one, like an in betweener?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I
Like
just
one ass cheek's hot and the other's cold, and he's just split kind of right down the middle.
Yeah, I just the strange one with that is it just feels like the only time Rutgers has had any success this millennium is when he's been the head coach and everyone else who has tried it has failed at it.
Chris Ash
But
being one.
yeah, Chris Ash being one. But man, if you lose to Purdue this weekend, I don't. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say anything with Penn State and Maryland at this point in the season. But if you don't beat Purdue this weekend, I think that they might be staring at 3-9.
Yep. And that's
And
just
that becomes then a very uncomfortable position to be in because if you're like, I get to a certain extent, like you don't like it if you're a fan, you would like to see some sort of progress. But if you're just making a bowl game every year at Rutgers, I think if you're the administration, it's like, okay, fine, we can live with that. But if you go from bowl game to 3-9, and that was preceded by a couple of non-bowl seasons before that, then you got to sit there and look like I get that you've been the guy for us for a long time, but we got to try something different here.
yeah, absolutely. I don't have much more to say on him. You took the words out of my mouth with everything that Rutgers has had as success in our lifetime has been Greg Schiano, and you and I don't know Rutgers without Greg Schiano. So have to find something here and figure it out for him. But like I said, I think I'm going to fence sit on him and ride the middle.
I don't know if we want to talk about anything concerning like coaches, Big Ten coaches with any other job openings. We kind of talked Jed Fish a little bit yesterday, and that was
Yeah,
kind of the
I
one that I highlighted.
again tied to alumnus with Florida. I don't know if he's going to be Florida's first call. I truly
I could
believe
see
they
that.
will swing big, and I don't know if he'll be second or third. I could see honestly, I could see him going James Franklin before Jed Fish. And
I
my
think
my
that'd be
one
a
are
strangely good hire for them,
yeah, my
honestly.
argument being that I know Bill O'Brien kind of kickstarted this stuff for Penn State, but James Franklin, as the kids say, kind of lifted Penn State out the mud. right? Like
Hmm.
he put them in a program to a spot they were consistently 10-2 pretty much every year. Florida would die for 10-2.
For sure.
They've had no success other than 1 year when Kyle Trask, Kyle Pitts, and those guys during COVID were there. They've had shit since Urban left. They would love a little bit of success right now. And 10-2 in the SEC every year, that's probably in the playoff,
Yes.
without a doubt. Especially with their, maybe we'll get to the AP bias here that no matter how many games they lose, they're still ranked in the top 25. So
Hmm.
I think Fish could be third, fourth, fifth in line. I almost, Ryan, I would almost be willing to bet you Florida would call Urban Meyer before they might call Jed Fish. And
I
they
could.
try to go the
Yeah.
Greg Schiano route, and except on
Yeah.
a much bigger scale, right? Like, hey, Urban, come back. We've sucked since you've left. Can you help us out? And like, I don't know where Fish kind of fits with that. It's hard to see the building of a program from a guy if you're just gonna hop ship every 2 years. Just I know he's been successful. It's not like Washington's bad, and Noah Fafita in Arizona sure as hell haven't been great since he left. At least Noah Fafita for sure. Super disappointing season in 2024, but
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting. And maybe it's another agent thing to put pressure on Washington to get them to pony up to keep them there and to keep them competing within this Big Ten. You're going to have Damon Williams for another year. You're going to lose Coleman in Boston, but you have a ton
Hmm.
of freshman talent at wide receiver.
Oh, for sure.
Again, you got to build the offensive line. You have to keep something in front of Damon Williams to allow him to develop as a quarterback in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I think my only concern with Jedfish outside of the Florida connection is just like we kind of talked about. It's a strange job given the outpost that Washington is
Mm-hmm.
in the Big Ten because all your road trips outside of Oregon are long. Not easy travel schedule. A lot of your road games are going to end up being played at 9 a.m. body clock time because of the fucking TV partner with this stupid conference. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, that's all. That's all. Um,
Sure.
let's go to the Heisman, Clinton.
Let's do it. So I have. I have probably different odds than you. I don't want to tell you which ones I have. Let's see. Read off yours. Who you
Okay.
have?
So I got these from DraftKings. So your top 9 betting favorites for the Heisman right now. Fernando Mendoza is currently the leader at plus 340. Ty Simpson is second at plus 350. Julian Sayin is third at plus 400. Diego Pavia that is next plus 700. Then I have Marcel Reed plus 1,000. Gunnar Stockton plus 1,200. Dante Moore plus 1,400. Jeremiah Love plus 2,000. And Jeremiah Smith plus 3,000.
Mine is currently spinning the wheel of death.
Oh,
And nothing is loading at all right now. Website blocked. Oh, it's because I never mind. I know
you're
why.
on your work computer.
Shh. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Anyways, the one I had here had a few flip flops. It was written by Nittany Lionswire. I'm not sure who they pulled this through, but they had Ty Simpson as their one, whoever they pulled it through, and that was really the biggest change. But it's plus 320 versus plus 340, so not really a huge change. The reason I kind of wanted to bring up the Heisman talk tonight because I think Mendoza should be the leader right now in everything he's done with Indiana, and being paired with Signetti. He's having a fantastic season. But my Buckeye shirt here, my Ohio State bias, it was all over Jeremiah Smith for the longest time, right? If Ohio State's going to have one, it's Jeremiah Smith. It's Jeremiah Smith. Julian Sand is looking fantastic. I believe he has the highest completion percentage in college football. I know he's thrown to some elite targets, but he's highly efficient, man. He looks fantastic. And then we got Decorian Morse or Dante Moore sitting down there from Oregon. So we have 3 Midwest, as Ryan wants to call them with his tweet today.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen that yet, you should go check
Oregon,
that out.
Oregon is in the Midwest.
Yeah, 3 minutes. The one guy I didn't hear you name was, and I know it's hard because we talked about this with Jack in the offseason, but it's Jeremiah Love.
Yeah, he's on there. He's right above
Okay.
Jeremiah Smith.
Sorry,
He's
I
plus
think when I
2,000.
was flipping through that, I didn't hear it. But Jeremiah Love, he's got to be creeping up there, man. He's having a fantastic season. All these names we hear pop off immediately. It's a quarterback award. We all
Mhm.
know that. In order to win it, you have to have a Derrick Henry or a Devonta Smith-esque season in order to get it. But Are there any names, Ryan, that surprise you that's on there? Maybe a name that you would put on there? I mean, raise your hand if 10 years ago you tell, or 20 years ago, you tell Ryan, that version of Ryan, that an Indiana quarterback and a Vanderbilt quarterback are going to be in the top
Crazy.
9 of the Heisman voting
It's
right now,
crazy.
or Heisman
Texas
odds.
A&M quarterback too. It's crazy. So for me, the top three feels right here. I kind of like Diego Pavia as a dark horse if you were trying to take something a little off the beaten path, but there is some risk with him if Vanderbilt falters a little bit. I think if they
Hmm.
fall out of the playoff race, he's going to kind of tumble. And I mean, we saw with I think Carson Beck was the betting favorite last week, and then he throws 4 picks, and now he's not even anywhere near this. But the QB race is going to get interesting. If Texas A&M goes 11-1 and Marcel Reed continues to be as good as he's been this year, he's going to have a very strong case. I think Fernando Mendoza feels right as the favorite right now.
Hmm.
The good for both him and Julian Sand is there's not really another guy on their team who's going to steal votes from him. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith is excellent, but with the attention he's getting in coverage this year, his numbers are just not eye-popping
Hmm.
Heisman worthy.
Not going to be high enough.
No, like he's averaging what 7 catches and just under 100 yards per game. I mean, he's a outstanding wide receiver. Those are not
Mhm.
Heisman Trophy numbers, and that's
Nope.
not his fault. He's getting bracketed. Teams are game planning to take him away, and because of that, Carnell Tate is reaping the reward. I'm good for
Hmm.
Carnell Tate, but also good for Julian Sane because if you're going to put up well balanced passing numbers in that offense, you're not preferentiating one guy over the other. That's a very good way to pull away from the rest of your teammates as a Heisman favorite.
I
And then
think.
same
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say same thing with Indiana. I mean, there's not really anyone else on that roster that's going to steal Heisman votes from Fernando Mendoza. They do a running back by committee. Elijah Surratt is good, but again, he's not putting up eye-popping Heisman-worthy numbers
Yeah.
either.
Omar Cooper arguably is putting up the better numbers on
For
this
sure.
season versus Surratt is
I
probably the better pro prospect,
I
but
would say the bad for both Mendoza and Sayan is the rest of their both of their schedules are just so not good that you're just not really going to have that Heisman moment unless
yeah.
you're like caught in a weird, funky game where you need to make a play late.
Hmm. Or if
I
Bama and
guess
Ty Simpson drop one,
Saying could have one against Michigan for sure. Like if he just goes
absolutely,
out
that
and
would be
annihilates
huge.
Michigan, or I guess the voting doesn't close till after the Big Ten, after the title game. So I
So
mean,
they could go head to head against each other
that
to
could be your
potentially
Heisman
win the
moment there.
Heisman.
Could be a Heisman
Yep.
moment there for sure.
Who can lead the game-winning drive? I think if there were to be a blowout, you'd probably lean more Ohio State. But if Fernando Mendoza can take Indiana down the field to knock off number 1 Ohio State in the Big Ten championship and solidify themselves of the number 1 ranked team for the playoff, that would be pretty huge.
That would be a
So
Heisman moment.
it is fun because I quote me if I'm wrong here, but I don't feel like we had too many Heisman guys pushing too much in the Big Ten last year. Whereas this year, we've got 3 guys with interest, 4 guys that we cover, given Jeremiah Love. So we get to be a little more engaged in following the Heisman odds through the remainder of the season to see if, I think most likely, Mendoza or Julian Sayan can pull this thing off and bring it back to the Big Ten.
Yeah, I will say too regarding Jeremiah Love, I do have a Jeremiah Love Heisman ticket at plus 4,000. Good for me. I don't necessarily love him as a pick either, no pun intended.
Hmm.
You kind of mentioned it is more of a quarterback award now more than ever, and you just need monster numbers to break that club. And as good as he's been this year, he's only averaging 136 all-purpose yards per game, which is good. It's not Heisman good.
Hmm.
Um, he's got 12 touchdowns in 7 games. If he picks up that pace, maybe. But the rest of Notre Dame's schedule is also not good. I don't know that there's a
What are you
Heisman,
talking about? BC's fantastic.
and they don't have the benefit of a conference title game. I don't know that there's a Heisman moment in there. I mean, this could have been a Heisman moment this past weekend, but
Hmm.
the thing I do wonder is with the schedule letting up for Notre Dame is if they dial back his carries a little bit
Hmm.
to try to preserve
Switch the
him.
load.
He's averaging 18 carries per game this year. He only averaged 11 per game last year. And if you're uninitiated, the rest of Notre Dame's schedule is Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford. They should not need Jeremiah Love carrying the ball 18 times a game, getting 20 touches a game to win those games. But, but they have not been using other running backs this year, Clinton. Whereas last year they were very heavy in the third, fourth, and fifth guys.
I was just
Notre
going to
Dame's
name Anais Williams.
Notre Dame's third, fourth, and fifth running backs this year have combined for 17 carries.
Yeah, 6 carries, 30 yards for Williams this year.
Yes. So I mean, if you're gonna continue this carry disparity where you're letting Love get 18 carries a game and letting Price get 10 to 12 carries a game. I mean, with those opponents that they're playing, he could put up some pretty ridiculous numbers.
Hmm.
And I mean, right now he's just over 900 total yards rushing, receiving, and 12 touchdowns. I mean, if you let him play out these games and let him pad his stats, it wouldn't be unreasonable for him to get to 1,800 total yards and maybe 25 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I think that might get you to New York. I don't know if it's going to win you the Heisman, but
Yeah. I would argue though, when you're looking at these teams, one like Notre Dame, and they can't afford to lose another game, but what's the purpose in running Love into the ground just to win a Heisman when you're trying
oh,
to
for
win
sure.
something bigger?
Yeah, when you want to get to the playoff.
And it's the same thing kind of with all your, especially your running backs, but why put them at risk and in danger of just to get that award and sacrificing what you need or have a potential shot at, which is a national championship? That's what
Yep.
everybody wants. You ask any player in college football, they'd rather win a natty, not any, but most would rather win a natty than a Heisman because it means everything, especially these guys from Notre Dame, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, all the big programs who are chasing something greater than an individual award. Like it's cool if your guy gets it on the way,
Hmm.
but if you ask that kid who wins the Heisman and gets bounced in the first round of the playoff, I think he'd rather have the natty.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I think that's probably why it's become such a quarterback award now, is because you can let your quarterback stat pad without necessarily
Oh
putting
yeah.
him in as much of harm's way as your running backs in the days of the Derrick Henry is like the last of his type, the bell cow,
Yep.
give him the ball 25 times a game guy just because he's so big that he can absorb that kind of punishment.
Yep.
Even to a certain extent with wide receivers. I mean, you're still
You
getting
got to be
hit, but
careful.
you're not
Yeah.
getting you don't necessarily get hit every single time you touch the ball in the same way a running back would.
One wrong floated ball by a quarterback, and it's good night, Irene, for your wide receiver.
Yeah, Mike Evans
Done so.
tonight, Jesus.
What happened to him?
Well, I guess it was a long ball, but he went headfirst into the ground making a diving catch and
Oh, Lord,
yeah.
that's
Uh,
unfortunate.
that's all with the Heisman. Do you want to wrap up talking some top 25 poll stuff real quick?
I would rather do honestly the other one I'd mentioned where we have maybe our 1 to 2 surprises since we're halfway through the season.
Oh, well, you give me some surprises, Clinton, because I
Well,
think my surprises are
I
kind of
think the
dumb.
first one, first and foremost, is Penn State,
Yeah, that
and
was my one surprise.
just everything that from the hype that they were going to win a national championship to now they're bottom of the Big Ten and don't have a head coach, and they don't have a quarterback because he's injured. So I think that's been the biggest surprise of all. Might even be the biggest surprise in college football, but relative to the Big Ten, I was thinking Northwestern today. What a pleasant turnaround for a team. And we already
Hmm.
we talked about it at the beginning of the show, needing to rehash Braun, but from a team that you watched week one get smacked by Tulane, you did not see them going 5-2 and sitting third in the Big Ten at this point, midway through the season, with real possibilities that one, they're going bowling, and two, they could still play spoiler to other teams other than just Penn State. They can spoil Michigan's season in a few weeks. They can spoil Nebraska's season this week. So there's some really big intrigue there. I think I'm surprised by Nebraska, but from the standpoint of their offensive line being what they invested in the portal to be able to bring them in and just the constant duress and pressure that
Hmm.
Dylan Raiola is under. And it's really hard to be a permanently successful quarterback when you don't have time to make plays. You're not Lamar Jackson who can just scramble out and run away from everybody. Other surprises, I will be the first to admit and eat crow a little bit on Matt Patricia and Ohio
For
State's
sure.
defense.
For sure.
I wasn't I wouldn't say I was unhappy with the hire, but I was unsure of the hire when they hired him back in January or February, and I wasn't quite sure what was going to happen with that. And he's been everything and more that he ever could have been. And he has this defense playing as the number one defense in the country, essentially, especially in points per game. And it doesn't look like there's anyone on that schedule who can score more than 17 points on them anytime soon. Hell, if they can even score 10. Um, Maybe get past the 50-yard line a couple times. And then I'm trying to think of any other ones that I'm overly surprised by. I'm kind of bummed personally as we just posted about this today, and surprised the Jonah Coleman, kind of the
Yep.
fall off after the early, I get it's early matchups that he popped off with, but that wasn't the same with what he did last year. And I know this offense has changed a little bit, going from Will Rogers to Damon Williams Jr., but I've been kind of bummed. Oh, Mark Gronowski's the other one. There it was for me. Mark Gronowski. His legs are everything that we thought about, but I thought we would be a little more dynamic with Iowa quarterback this year and them really having a threat, whereas he is not a threat to beat you passing the ball. And
No.
if he's not going to be able to use his legs, Iowa's in big trouble. So those are kind of the surprises that came to my head today. I guess you could side piece me some Mike Loxley in Maryland, where I wasn't expecting anything from them this year. And Malik Washington has been a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I would say Maryland for sure. I mean, we talked about it already on this show. I thought that he was going to be the first Big Ten coach fired, and he's most likely going to get another year. I would be shocked if he gets fired at this point. How about UCLA, though?
Yes.
I mean, that was not surprising initially because I think I don't know that I expected them to be that bad right out
Mm-hmm.
of the gate. And maybe now that they've turned it around a little bit, I guess 3-4 at this point in the season is about right.
Mm-hmm.
But just like the wild swings with UCLA has been a little surprising. Also surprising is Clinton, Notre Dame's offensive lineman, can't stop getting fucking hurt.
I
Billy
read that.
Schrouth is out for the rest of the regular season with the knee injury sustained against USC.
Ugh, that's tough, man.
Expected to be back for the playoffs if they make it. And good news for them is they don't really need him to win their next 5 games because not
They
very
have a good
teams.
shot to make it.
But that will now be a backup left tackle, backup center, and backup left guard, backup center, and backup right guard starting for the rest of the regular season.
But you got through the games you needed, right? And
It's
you're
true.
showing promise. Your defense is improving. You got through the tough spot.
Also,
So
what a damn fucking warrior, too, man. He got hurt early in that game, came back, and
mhm,
then hurt himself
fought
again.
through. Absolutely.
And he was
Absolutely.
mauling dudes the entire time.
Really, honestly, Ryan, I had the AP gripe today was just the continued of just leaving SEC teams in the top 25 when they shouldn't be there. LSU. Uh, I don't know. Is Texas in there? Because they shouldn't
Yep.
be because that was despicable against
Okay.
Kentucky.
So here we go. So Missouri, LSU, and Tennessee have combined for one win against a P4 team with a winning record. Actually, two teams, excuse me. Two P4 wins against P4 teams with a winning record. That would be Missouri against Kansas, Tennessee against a Mississippi State team that is 4-3 and only has one P4 win. Yet all three are ranked in the top 20. Texas lost to a bad Florida team that nearly lost to a terrible Kentucky team, and its entire resume is being built on beating a vastly overrated Oklahoma team, whose entire resume is built on beating Michigan and a shitty Auburn team who has only beat one Power 4 team. It's just like this whole Ponzi scheme is based on preseason rankings where these
Mm-hmm.
SEC teams play a bunch of garbage non-conference games to start the season. And then they get into conference play and everyone's like, oh my gosh, Auburn's a top 20 team. And then Auburn doesn't beat anybody because they beat Ball State and Tennessee Chattanooga to start the year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, what are we doing here?
And then Auburn gets the benefit of the doubt because Alabama decided to line up and play another Power Four opponent.
Right. Yeah.
They get the benefit of that when they didn't play anything.
Yeah. Alabama team that beat Wisconsin, who's probably the worst team in Power 4 this year, and also got boat
Lost to
raced by a
Florida State.
got boat raced by a Florida State team that can't beat an ACC team right now.
Yep. So that was more my gripe. I mean, it is what it is. This has been the bias for years. People are going to argue, we'll play them more than one tough game a year. I'm like, South Carolina, LSU are not tough games.
No, they are not.
They
good.
would lose in the Big Ten. I'm telling
Yep.
you. USC proved that. I know it's last year. They beat LSU head to head last year. And I think they'd beat them again because there's nothing about LSU that's tough. And USC at a neutral site with their passing offense and healthy running backs are beating LSU.
Yep.
And you can't call Florida a tough win.
No, Florida's not
Texas
good.
was completely built on the Arch Manning hype this year, and that's fallen flat on its face.
Yep.
So when you look at things like, USC has what? 2 losses. They're out of the top 25. Washington, who wasn't ranked prior, now out of the top 25. Or, I'm sorry, not even in the top 25. Nebraska touched base, lost their second game, and they're out. But yet, what, LSU has 3 losses now?
Two.
2? Probably about to have 4, though, and they'll still
Yeah,
be ranked
they're
in the top 25.
yeah, right. 5-4 in the top 25.
Yeah, and it's
Yuck.
laughable. And this is
Yuck.
where we're going to get an argument at the end of the year. Well, LSU played an SEC schedule and they're 7-5. They should be in this playoff because something stupid like that's going to happen.
Yeah,
Well,
the
Indiana would have only won 4 games in the SEC. I'm like, no, dog. I think Indiana would
yeah,
probably be a top team in the
little
SEC.
little old Indiana's not going to beat Auburn and Mississippi State and Florida on back-to-back weeks, as if that's
Yeah,
the hardest thing to do in the
I
world.
think
Okay.
Kirk Signetti would kick the shit out of all those
Hey,
teams in a
here,
row.
how about this one, Clinton? Hold on. Hold on. You want to talk about how fucking difficult the SEC is here? The Arkansas Razorbacks, Clinton, have lost this season to Ole Miss by a 41-35 score. They lost to Tennessee by a 34-31 score. They just lost to Texas A&M by a 45-42 score. This is the same Arkansas team that lost in the non-conference to Memphis and lost by 43 points to Notre Dame.
And they sit near the bottom of the SEC.
They haven't won an SEC game yet.
That's what I'm saying. They sit near the bottom.
They're at the bottom of the SEC.
And we want to say
They are
how
the basement.
elite. We want to say how elite Arkansas is. Yet, against some of your better teams, they're scoring at an unprecedented clip on you. Just makes you wonder. Just saying. Just saying.
What the fuck got into the Lions defense?
I don't know what happened. Are
Their
they good?
entire starting secondary is out, and they've given up 9 points tonight.
I don't know. I'm going to lose a second straight week in fantasy football because Baker Mayfield's thrown up a dud. But
Yeah.
disappointment.
Yeah.
Disappointment.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
But anyways,
I had the.
that was a good Monday sound off episode. I'm excited to pick this week's games. I think it's a lot more fun than what the slate looks like. The Big Ten, it's kind of like Kirk texted me and said this. It's a separation Saturday.
Yep.
You're going to separate out the middle of the pack from everybody else with these games, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they go. Unfortunately, as I said before, folks, I will be doing a lot of birthday stuff Saturday, so I will just be checking in. I won't get to watch as much football as I like. So my fingers are crossed that Michigan State and Michigan is actually a game at the end of the day, because that will be the first game I get to sit down and watch all of.
It will be fun. It will be fun. Thank you, everyone.
And we're
for
back
joining.
Saturday night.
And we are back Saturday night, most likely.
Yes.
Most
That'll be our first time live on X on a Saturday night.
That's true.
For
Could be
a
fun.
review, so.
But before then, we'll be with you guys Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. You know the time. You know the place. Thanks for joining us tonight. We will see you then.
Deuces.